My core purpose and mission really is to help raise this frequency of this planet, just to leave this planet better than how I found it.
She's gone on to become a mindset coach, inspiring millions of people around the globe.
Queen of Manifestation, Regan Hillyer.
Regan Hillyer.
Regan Hillyer.
Regan Hillyer.
I believe desire is your soul speaking to you, saying like, hey, you've already done this thing, which is why you have a desire for it to come into your life.
The connection with being a physical human to then, okay, I'm a spiritual being living a human experience. How did your perception of life change?
It's almost like there's a translation process that takes place from the higher realms, from a higher dimension, from a spiritual realm, you could say. And all of that's just information, and we're just information at the end of the day.
How did you battle through those voices, your own internal voices?
It's less about, I want to do this and I want to do that, but it's more about this feeling that I have inside my heart in such a big way that I can't even fathom how big it is.
Hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of In the Arena. My name is Angela Soudi, and I'm very excited today to have a very, very special guest in the studio. Regan Hillyer is somebody that I have been following for many, many years. She really is a trailblazer when it comes to anything related to mind mastery. She's also a global speaker and focuses on helping other people to break free of their own mental limitations to create a purposeful, driven life that they desire. She believes in building a location-free business, which I'm very interested to discuss with her today. And aside from that, she focuses now on helping individuals to focus on their own financial freedom and their own financial abundance. Regan went from being in debt to building a 7-figure business. So I'm sure, as I am very excited, you will also be to welcome Regan in the studio today. Regan, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Angela. It's great to be here with you.
It's really a pleasure. Now, I know you arrived in Dubai last night. You've been fully booked all morning with interviews. Thank you for spending this time with us today. Just before we jump into what it is that you do for a living, would you like to just introduce yourself?
Sure. Well, I think that was a great introduction. Firstly, I'm Regan, and my core purpose and mission really is to help raise this frequency of this planet, just to leave this planet better than how I found it. So all of my companies and missions and contributions, as long as they fit into that, they come into alignment, and that's really my core mission here.
I mean, that's a mammoth mission.
Yes.
To bring the frequency, especially now in a time when, globally, we are going through so many challenges right now.
Yes.
To be able to bring this light and shed this light is really incredible. I'd like to go back to, because I know your story, but I would like you to share your story with people that haven't heard your story before. What helped you to get onto this path of giving and sharing and helping others?
Totally. Yeah, it's been a very organic pathway. You can probably hear my New Zealand accent. I still have a little bit of my Kiwi twang. So I grew up in New Zealand, and I was born into a family that loved me a lot, but they very much wanted me to follow the system and go to school and get really good grades and continue on that path. And, I had a moment where I was actually studying architecture. I was studying to be an architect because my dad always said, if I had your opportunities, I would have been an architect. So I was on this unconscious quest to please my parents, and I went down this path, and I was in university, and I had this moment where we're in electric theatre, and the lecturer came out, and it was a new lecturer we hadn't experienced before, and he got us to do a process that I had never done. He said, I'm going to guide you through a guided visualization. And I thought, this is cool. And he said, everyone, I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to picture your life 20 years out from now as the architect that you're born to be. And you could feel in the room, like everyone was very excited. There was a lot of anticipation, and I was excited, and I closed my eyes, and I started seeing this vision of my life 20 years out from the 18-year-old at the time that I was. And I felt sick to my stomach with what I saw, because I just had this deep knowing that, okay, that's a path, but is that really my path? And is that really the path that I want to be on? And is that really what my life is here for? And I just knew it wasn't me. And so I had this moment where this voice just said, just get out. Yeah, and it's like my mind disconnected from my body, and my body got up and went out of the room. And I had this moment as an 18-year-old where I was like, you know what? I'm going to figure out, why am I here? And also, how do I be happy? Like, I just want to live a life of happiness. You know, it didn't start with this big grand mission of impacting millions of people. I was like, I just want to be happy. Like, how do I do that? Yeah, so simple. And so I went home and I went to Dr. Google, right? Because that's what you do when you're 18. And I was like, how do I quit?
My life answers will be here on
right,
the screen.
exactly. How do I quit my job? I didn't even have one, but I was like, I need to get out of this, right? And so that's when I started coming across ebooks and different wealth creation seminars and events and podcasts. And I started really deep diving into the personal development world. Firstly, around like, how do I be happy and why am I here? And I started doing all the things that people told me to do, and I was investing money I didn't have. And as you mentioned, I got into over 6 figures of personal debt, credit card loans, just for coaching and education and courses and seminars. And everyone was telling me to learn all these strategies. I was learning, how to trade a .com business, like Forex trading, like everything you can think of. I was just like, how do I make money so I can be happy, basically, right? Nothing was working. I was starting businesses and they were failing. And I had this moment with a mentor of mine. His name's Simon. He's at least 40 years older than me. And he looked at me and he said, Regan, do you realize that whatever you're trying to do in your life, whatever you're trying to create, whatever money you're trying to create, he said, it's 80% your internal game. It's 80% your energetics and your wiring and your success mindset and the version of you that you're conditioning from the inside out. And then 20% all these strategies that you're doing and learning. And he said, what are you doing about that 80%? And I looked at him and I realized I didn't even know what he meant. And I asked him more about that. And, that led me down another path of then all of a sudden learning, how do I condition myself to be the best version of me from the inside out? That led me into the world of NLP and hypnosis and energy work and later shamanism and plant medicine and all these different paths, right? And it wasn't until I started combining the 80% with all the action that I was doing in life and in business, things started to click really fast. And so people were watching me over these years, laughing at me behind my back, seeing me fail. And they also started seeing when things changed. And some of them started coming to me and they were saying, Regan, like, I've noticed, like, you're looking happier, you look healthier, you're making money now. Like, how are you doing this? And I started sharing with them, well, okay, like, you can condition yourself in this way. And when you feel fear, this is what you do. And here's what I did to bring this version of me to the table of life. And the weirdest thing happened, Angela, they started coming back and some of these people were crying. Some of them started thanking me and they were like, Regan, that thing that you told me to do, I've been doing it in the morning and you've changed my life. And I got this weird feeling in my stomach. And I was like,
goosebumps. Wow.
Yeah, I was like, what's this feeling? I don't know what this feeling is. And then for the first time ever, I was like, oh, I think this is what purpose feels like. I think this is what it feels like to help somebody. And then I had this flip as a 20-year-old where I was like, what if it isn't about me? What if it's not about my happiness? What if why I'm here is to actually feel more of this feeling, knowing that I've made some sort of contribution to someone else? And for me, that just flipped my reality and changed my game. And that's really where everything started for me, I feel.
And so, I mean, first of all, at the age of 18, I think to have that insight, to have the insight or awareness of self is a huge thing. Because at 18, we're still figuring out life and where our place in life is and who we are. So to initially have that insight to say, okay, what is the reason that I'm here? This is a question that most people hit when they're 50s, 60s, the other side, when they're thinking, okay, I've lived my life, I've raised my kids, now what?
Yeah.
Who am I? So to have that so early on is first of all incredible. And then to have that feeling at 20, I have to ask, going back to your dad, because the trajectory was for you to be an architect. And that was, and unfortunately, as parents, we often live our dreams through our children,
right?
Subconsciously programming them to take on a life that maybe isn't meant for them, as you know. How did he respond when you pivoted and moved away from something that in his mind was safe, consistent, the right thing for you in terms of having stability, to then jumping into a world of the unknown? And I guess your parents probably didn't know that world either, the personal development space. How did he deal with that?
It's a great question. When I got up and I ran out of that lecture theater, before I went home and I went to Google, the first thing that I did standing outside the university, I'll never forget this, is I called my dad. And I was shaking and I was so scared to say this to him. But when he answered, he heard my voice. He said, what's wrong? I said, Dad, I don't think I can do it. He's like, do what? I said, I don't think I'm meant to be an architect.
That's a big thing to have that courage to say
Right.
to your parent.
And I was so worried about letting him down. And on the other end of the phone, you know, he was silent, and then he turned around and he said, okay.
You're like, what? No, give me a hard time.
I said,
I'm
what?
bracing myself.
Right. He said, okay. He said, baby, I want you to be happy at the end of the day. And I was like, oh, all right. And he said, so what are you going to do? And I was like,
oh, well, that's a big of a question I'm not ready for.
I was like, just give me a minute. And that's when I went to Google, right? And I was like, okay, I need a plan.
Need an answer.
I need to figure this out. And, you know, when I did get more into this space, and then I started out firstly helping people for free, and then I was a one-on-one coach on the phone for many years, and, you know, doing all of this and starting to build these education companies, my dad was worried and he was scared because he knew entrepreneurship all too well, and he's been an entrepreneur his whole life, and he's run small businesses, and he's seen the highs and the lows and the stresses and the responsibilities. And so for him, looking at me, he's like, you know, you had a great schooling. You have the opportunity to go to university. You have a safe job.
Have it easy.
Have it easy, right? He didn't want to put on me this life of entrepreneurship, which I actually believe I'm born for. I believe it's in my blood and my DNA and my cells also, because I am him too.
Of course.
So it's an interesting paradigm, you know. Even now today, he says, Regan, you never cease to amaze me and scare me simultaneously. So we're still there.
That's amazing. And what about your mom? Was she always supportive of you taking on this journey, or was she apprehensive too?
No, my mum was absolutely terrified. And upon reflection, I really know now that it's just because she wants me to be safe, and she wants the best for me, and she's worried about her baby. You know, I know
motherly
that.
instinct, yeah.
Exactly. So no, it was very challenging. My mum really wanted me to be in that system and to get that degree and have that stability and that job. And, you know, for years, even I was making over $1 million at 23 years old, and she was still saying, like, you know, what's your backup plan? Like,
plan B.
What we need plan B. She even suggested I go back to university to get a degree in marketing at one point, and I was like, why? Like,
Mom, I'm doing okay.
Like, why? I'm bringing people out of the system. She's like, well, just to have something to fall back on. I said, Mom,
that's their conditioning.
I'm not falling back. I'm falling forward if I'm going to fall, you know. And so this was a challenge, definitely, for years. And I understand she just really wanted me to be safe. My mum now for the last 6 years actually works within my company, and she's my head copywriter, and she works full time, and she's an integral team member, and everyone loves Mama Hillier. So it's interesting how the world can turn around.
Yeah, how things change.
Yeah.
How fascinating. Going back to what you said then in the beginning, I find that really interesting, because that's the side that people don't see. So now they see the Regan, you know, the global speaker, the megastar, but what they don't see, and you said it, is in the beginning when you started helping people, you were doing it for free.
Yeah.
You were doing it on the phone. You were just guiding. And that's the part that I think people miss out on, that you have to do the grind and you have to do the hustle.
Absolutely.
Was there any point during those days, before obviously the income is coming in and now you can see that it's going to support you in your life, did you ever think, did you ever think, am I doing the right thing? Because I don't think that's your character. But did you ever have concerns, internal dialogue that was saying, maybe you should take the easy path? Are you doing the right thing? And if so, how did you battle through those voices, your own internal voices?
Yeah, totally. Those doubts would come up. And look, in the beginning, when these people were just saying, like, you know, thanks, you've helped me so much, I was totally just helping them for free. I wasn't charging anything, as I said, right? And that's when I thought, okay, you know, there's something in this. Like, what if I was to put together a little package where maybe I could be on the phone with someone once a week for 2 hours, and every single week for, say, 12 weeks, I would help them get from where they are now to where they want to be. I created this little system, and I was so proud of it. I put together, you know, 2 hours on the phone, one-on-one, once a week for 12 weeks. And I charged $200 for the 12 weeks.
Wow.
I charged $200 for the 12 weeks. And that is the best $200 I ever made in my life. When someone turned around and said, okay, all right, that's like slave labor. That's a bonus.
I'll take it.
I'll take 2 of them. Right? I was like, I can't believe this. I have a client. I have someone paying me money. I have someone that trusts me enough to give me their precious resource of their money. Like, wow, it was the greatest honor. And I remember feeling so much responsibility in that. And now even in that, so much doubt would come, oh my goodness, what if I can't get them to where they want to be? Like, what if I'm not good enough? What if I don't have enough experience? What if I think I'm this, but I'm not actually that? What if I'm not able to make it with money? What if I need to find some sort of job? Like, of course, all of those thoughts would come. But also because I was in this industry, I was training myself as I went, like, okay, I'm not my thoughts and I'm not my mind. And I would literally write them out almost like a purge or a cleanse. And I would get everything out on paper and I'd look at it and I'd be like, okay, I'm done with that. And then I'd turn the page and I'd be like, okay, how do I want this computer program to run? I choose to believe that I'm always earning more than enough money. I choose to believe that I create powerful results for my clients. And I would literally journal and write and script the program that I wanted my computer system to run on. And I'd have blips in the matrix. I would come back and it'd be like, no, you're lying. And I'd be like, okay, we're going to do this again. And I would write it out every single day. And I would reaffirm this to the point where I wouldn't need to write it anymore because I'm like, oh, that's just true. It takes time. It's like going to the gym. You don't work out once and then be like, where's my dream body, right? Like you might need to go again. But I kept going and I kept conditioning myself to eventually my system upgraded into it.
Fascinating. And I think this is, I guess, one of the things with personal development, that it is daily work. Yeah. It's not, okay, I've got this self-help book. I can read this, I'm fixed. And as you get through certain challenges or internal struggles, just when you master that one, there's another one. It's the onions, right? There's another one and another one. Talking about daily practice. So this is things that you did in the early days to reprogram those parts of you that were not working. Now you're in a very, very different space. I'm interested to know what daily programs do you still do now, knowing that you've progressed so much? What is your sort of daily ritual to keep you on the right path?
Yeah, it's a great question. And there's a lot of different things. And now, because I've gone so deep down so many rabbit holes, I have so many tools also, which I can pull from and play from, some which I've created and some which are other people's. My thing each and every single day, I wake up and I stop and I pause and I ask myself, what does my soul need right now? Mm-hmm. And that always sets the direction of how I start my day. And that can look very different. So this is not like, oh, I always do these 5 things in the morning. No, it's like, you know what? My soul actually requires 20 minutes more in bed, and I'm going to stay lying down in a really beautiful meditative type state. And I'm just going to tune into the frequency of how I want to be today. Could be that. It could be like my soul needs to get up and go straight to the gym and do a workout. And whilst I'm lifting weights, I'm going to focus about the next layer of abundance that I want to embody through my body, right? It could be that. Right? It could be something that goes for 2 hours. It could be a quick 2 minutes that I write in my journal, right? And so it's always like connecting to this soul level. And then for me, what's even more important than that is how is the rest of my day? How are the other 23 hours or whatever's left, right? And so it became a moment for me when it's less about like the daily ritual and the practice and the setup in the morning. That's important. But this is a lifestyle. How can I be in this layer of just beingness and embodiment so that at 4 p.m. when I'm having a juice with someone and I hear a little thought in my head, am I able to catch it, shift it, recalibrate it, and rewire my frequency to bring myself back into this next place, right? For me, it's like a continuous practice and a game. I've gamified it of like, can I adjust and catch these things in the moment? Even if I'm writing an email and I notice like a little fear come up, can I alchemize that while still replying to the email? Like for me, it becomes this game, right? Yeah. Rather than like, oh, I'll deal with that tomorrow morning when I'm doing my yoga. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And I like that because that is truly tuning into self. Yeah. I think when we're too rigid on, I have to wake up in the morning, as you said, and do this and do that. If that doesn't happen, then that voice, you're a failure, you didn't do it, right. You're not letting yourself down. And we do change. Our cycles change and our mood changes. Yes. And to have that awareness, I think that's amazing. What advice would you give to somebody who, because I deal a lot with parents and kids, they have this busy lifestyle and I hear all the time, I don't have the time. So you have to make the time. It's as important as feeding yourself. Yeah. What advice do you give to your clients or your audiences that say the excuses, I have such a busy day, I've got my kids, I've got this, I don't have time to sit and tune in. How do you deal with that?
My advice is 3 minutes.
Okay.
So I wrote a book called How to Change Your Life in 3 minutes. And the whole premise around it is if you give me just 3 minutes a day, 3 minutes, everyone has 3 minutes. I mean, you have 3 minutes if you're in the shower. Everyone has 3 minutes. Like, don't tell me you don't have 3 minutes. You do. And if you're able just in that 3 minutes to do some of those tools and practices and shift your frequency, that compounds. It's like putting money in a bank and earning compounding interest on it, right? It stacks up, and all of a sudden you have an accumulation of amplified 3 minutes each and every single day versus someone that says, oh, I just don't have any time, and they don't do the 3 minutes. So everyone has that. And if you want to go and read the book, you can go deeper into what to do in those 3 minutes, but it can be very short, simple, powerful things. But 3 minutes, not 20, not 3 hours, like 3 minutes. Everyone has 3 minutes.
Yeah, no, fascinating. What would you say are your non-negotiables? So I know you've got your daily practice. When you've got time, you do this, or you tune into yourself all the time to see where you are in your own soul. What things do you not compromise on? What are your non-negotiables in terms of, I have to do these daily practices every day?
Just in my life in general, or? Yeah, well, definitely. So it's the soul check-in first thing in the morning. I always also connect generally first thing when I, wake and I'm in that soul connection. I connect to God, Great Spirit, the universe, a source greater than me, and just establish that connection point. Also, every single day, this all happens before I move or before I get out of bed. I ask for help. I ask for help, guidance, and support. Now, people can do this with God, Allah, angels. It doesn't matter. Like, whatever your connection source is, the minute you start saying, like, please help me today, you tend to get a lot of help and support in your life. And the minute I started doing that, I was blown away. I was like, wow, all these people are showing up to help me. Wow, this is happening easier. And I was like, wow, I started asking for this, right? And so that's a really beautiful, again, 10-second thing that people can dive right in. For me, a daily non-negotiable is drinking a lot of water. Actually, I drink over a gallon.
Yeah, I've seen. That's like a whole bucket full of water.
It is, yeah. So I drink over a gallon of water each and every single day.
Because I noticed it's a little yellow.
It has some electrolytes in there currently. Yeah, I usually drink hydrogen water. This is a little easier when I'm traveling. But yeah, I drink over a gallon of water, yes, for the physical body, but also energetically. When you're anchoring in higher frequencies, if you're not hydrated, your body can't actually embody it. And with manifestation as well, we want to take the dreams, the prayers, the visions, and actually reflect them and anchor them into our reality. And that's got to come through us and through our body. So we've got to be hydrated. Also, a non-negotiable is moving my body. If I don't move my body in some way, I feel like I haven't showered. It's like you wouldn't just not shower for 24 hours. So even if that's, again, like a gentle stretch or a light walk, or it doesn't have to be a crazy workout, that's definitely a non-negotiable for me. And then every day I have some sort of connection point to my vision, to what's been created, to my life, to my evolution, to the next layer of that frequency. Yeah, I think those are the key things.
Which I guess once you've got that mind-body connection, I think that's one thing people forget. They start to neglect the body. Yeah. They're working so hard on their mind or the finances or the life externally outside of themselves. But movement, I completely agree with you. Yeah. That's one of my non-negotiables every day, whether it's stretching, yoga, the gym, something. And I feel it, if there's a day that I do skip, I think, oh, my body, I feel tight, my chest is tight, my mind doesn't seem to absorb. It is so important.
It's so important. And it's something, like, I was so cruel to my body for so many years. And, even, I was 23 years old, making just over $1 million a year, but I was like living on coffee, sleeping no hours a day, like, and not moving my body at all. Like, my body was a slave to the hustle, and I was just lucky I was 23, but I couldn't have done that at 43 or 63. Like, I would have just burned out fully, but I caught it early on. And, and then I got in a place where I got very deep in we would call it maybe the spiritual world. And I was almost like, I'm not even my body anymore. Like, I detached from everything and anyone, and I have no needs of nothing and no desires. I was kind of like floating out in the ethers, which was a very nice place to float for a while, until I realized, like, why are we actually here? We're here to be in a body. Like, oh, hang on, this body needs love, care, and attention. Like, wait. So my eating changed, my movement changed, my connection to my body changed. I realized, like, you know what? I want my body to also be strong. I went on a deep journey of actually, like, beginning to, like, okay, let me strengthen my body so I can hold more information, more higher frequencies, instead of just accessing them in a higher dimension. Let me bring them into this planet, So it's been a journey.
Yeah, no, of course. I find the whole spiritual realm fascinating. That's something that I've been exploring and interested in for many, many years. Through your own personal challenges and looking for other answers. And it fascinates me. Going through that whole journey, what do you feel that you learned most about yourself and about your place in the world by taking the connection with being a physical human to then, okay, I'm a spiritual being living a human experience? How did your perception of life change?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it changed fully. I think one of the biggest things for me is that I realize the more that I am in my body, the more that I'm here, it's almost like there's a translation process that takes place from the higher realms, from a higher dimension, from a spiritual realm, you could say. And all of that's just information. And we're just information at the end of the day. Like, we're oscillating particles made up of information, light, sound, and frequency, right? And so if we connect to a higher version of ourselves across different realms, reality, and dimensions, a version of ourselves that's already created the life that we desire, I believe part of our job is to be the embodied translator, to simply take that information and then bring it into the now. And then that's when we see our life change. That's when we make the money, the relationship materializes, where our body changes. Like, we see the physical results, but it's from this constant translation process that is taking place. So the greater access we have here, great, but also our greater capacity to utilize that information, bring it into the now and embody it, which has to be through our body, is also, that's the process. So the faster we can get at doing that, the faster we have quantum leaps, the faster we start shifting our lives, the faster we manifest things really quickly, where someone else might be like, whoa, how'd you make that much money so fast? You're just getting better at this translation process, because anything you desire or yearn for, you've already actually manifested out there in your future, because you wouldn't want it otherwise. So
There's
it's your
some connection somewhere to
exactly.
that. Yeah.
And I believe desire is your soul speaking to you, saying like, hey, you've already done this thing, which is why you have a desire for it to come into your life. A lot of spiritual teachings are like, no, desire is bad and wrong and you shouldn't have any of it, just shut it off. And I disagree. It's like, actually, like, we need that desire because it's an indication point that it's already happened. And now we get to say yes to it. And how quickly now can we translate it into this world?
I love that. One of the things that I love about what you talk about is that it's okay to create financial abundance and to create money, because there's always this divide of, oh, I'm spiritual, therefore I don't need. But actually, money is energy. So if we desire love and we desire health and we desire happiness, money is an integral part of that. Do you ever find that because you do talk a lot about financial abundance and financial frequencies, do you get pushback by bringing these conversations into what you're teaching others and guiding others?
Oh, yeah. I've been slammed. I've been crucified. I've been many people projecting on me that I'm not spiritual, that I'm evil because I talk about money. There's really? So much of it. Yeah. And I don't mind. We live in a world of polarity, and it's through all of that we get to see the opposite of that. So I think it's all part of it. And, I really know at the core of my being, if I can help get financial resources into the hands and the hearts of people that are really going to change this planet, that is a big part of how we change this planet. There's a lot of people dreaming about it and talking about it and having all these concepts and, here's how I'd recreate this system that the government has. But it's like, if you don't have the financial means to like go out and make that vision happen, then it stays as a vision, right? So money's just energy at the end of the day. And it's also a really beautiful mirror and amplifier. And so if you're a greedy, horrible person and you access a lot of money, that's going to be amplified into the world. But if you're pure and you really care about this planet and you're functioning from your heart and you're embodied with the essence of your soul, like, you're just going to amplify all of those blessings into the world. So the more I can help amplify really good people like that, I know we're going to create a big change. Yeah.
Incredible. And that I fully agree with you. If you're a good person, you do good things with money. Now, that takes me on to something I'm dying to talk about, which is the nest.
Yeah.
I want to go and live there.
Yes.
It looks amazing. So just explain, what is the nest? How did this is my dream, by the way, to take the kids, move away from everything and just live somewhere like that. So what is the nest, first of all? And how did this dream, this vision transpire into what it is now?
Totally. Well, the nest is the physical embodiment of ancient wisdom and quantum technology coming together. And it comes together in the form in Costa Rica of a beautiful conscious community. So it is over 600 acres of pristine jungle that looks out to the ocean. And has literally infinite jungle reserves backing onto it. So the land just really goes forever. And there's springs and waterfalls and fruit trees and animals, and it's very beautiful. And so there's a few layers to that. There's an amazing retreat center where people can come and experience either, one-on-one immersions or retreats with groups and actually access all the magic of that space. There's a residential zone where people can become a guardian of a piece of land there and actually, create their dream home.
Of a piece of land. I mean, that just sounds so idyllic. It's like Avatar almost.
It's true. It's true. It's like, you are the legal guardian. You now literally own this piece of land, but you're a guardian. You're a steward of this land. Like, go and look after this piece of land, right? And then co-create with nature a beautiful home on there that is, again, a fusion of luxury but sustainability and in harmony with nature. Those are the core principles. There's a school that has been created for the children as well, and an amazing biohacking spa, which we're calling an ascension spa because it's the best of biohacking and quantum technology, but everything to accelerate someone's ascension pathway, including their body, but also their consciousness. So we're talking, you can lie down and receive a massage, but you have a light flashing that activates your natural DMT whilst you're receiving a frequency through your feet with a red light going on the other side. And so it's like this beautiful mix of all this magic. But it's been about 4 years now since this vision was received, and the land found us, absolutely. And now there's a beautiful community of people that are, at the time of this recording, just starting to anchor in their homes and just...
Oh, is that right? So people are living there already?
They're starting their build process. They're starting their designs. It's a nice gradual organic flow, but the first families are starting to do that. And some are families, some are individuals. There's a huge age spectrum as well. It's really a big mix of people from all over the world, but it's the same frequency of their hearts that are coming together. It's very cool.
How amazing.
Yeah.
And how do people learn about this? How do they find out that this is available?
Yeah, well, you can send me a message on Instagram if you like. We have a beautiful online reveal that we did where we really take you behind the scenes of, all the details, everything into like the materials we're using, the pyramids we're building, the structures and the geometries, and so many details and so many things. And the Nest Costa Rica also is directly on Instagram, so you can check out some of the visuals there. Yeah. It's interesting. My architecture has done a full 360, by the way.
Oh, of course, yeah. Because
Yes.
that was where we started. Dad must be happy.
Dad's very happy.
You're like, Dad, look what I did.
Look what I did with that degree. Like, and we did have a moment. We had all these different teams of architects, and I'm like, no one's getting it quite like we need them to. I'm like, let me get in here. And
isn't it interesting how the universe says, okay, I'm going to give you these skills to start.
Right.
Then we're going to shift you and go where you need to be. But that's going to come in handy later on.
It's wild.
Fascinating.
You can't connect the dots looking forward.
What a journey to go through 4 years to build something like this. I mean, this is really life-changing. Yeah. To have that space where you can reconnect with nature again. Do you find that for the Nest, can people stay there as maybe go on holiday, just experience the space, not just as residents? They can actually go and...
Correct. That's right. We're actually just opening that in the next couple of weeks. So now people can come in either one-on-one or as a family and stay for a week or 2 or 3, and they can access some of the treatments in the spa and have all the amazing food and be amongst the nature and come and go. So yes.
I'm in, by the way.
Yeah.
I'll tell Dariush, I've got our next holiday
You
booked.
guys are welcome anytime. Come and play. You will love it.
It sounds amazing.
Yes.
And is that your full-time? I know you move around a lot, but would you consider that to be your home?
It's really, I'm not there as much as I would like currently, but we're just talking about this, right, with all the travel. But yes, that is my base.
So recently, I know you got married.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk about that journey because you were going on this, I guess, fast-paced, building a brand, helping others. And then you got to a stage in your life where you thought, okay, now I feel ready to meet my life partner. How did that transpire?
Oh, totally. It's been a really deep journey of just listening and really coming in at a deep soul connection, and allowing like all the iterations of that connection to continue to activate and unfold. And that's always the commitment between us is like, what is in the highest and best for our souls? What is the highest and best connection and evolution? And are we really listening to that? And I think that's really served us, 9 years later down the track.
Oh, was it 9 years?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't realize it was so long.
From when we met, yeah. Okay. I think that's really served us, and it's always been from this like this deep soul frequency and this deep honoring of each other's pathway and journey. So it's really beautiful.
And you're working together as well. So
yeah,
you do work
yeah.
on certain
Oh,
things
we're the
together.
best purpose partners ever.
Oh, okay,
So,
that's good. Because
yeah.
sometimes husband and wife can be, we're great partners, but working together is a little bit of a different area.
No, actually, like we saw that from the beginning that our purposes fully go together. Yeah, we have multiple different companies and missions and the nest and many things, and we love running retreats and teaching together, and it works really well that way.
I think especially something to do as a couples retreat is really beautiful when you embark on something like that together from a couple, because then you get the masculine and the feminine energy combined, the mutual love.
Exactly. It's so beautiful. And that's the thing in beautiful, powerful relationships is like, you can't do it all yourself, because at the end of the day, like, I'm not a man, he's not a woman. It's like you can try, but like you never can fully have that. So when there are two teachers or leaders or even just retreat holders as friends, you know, holding the masculine and feminine space, like something really beautiful happens for everyone, because it has that yin and yang all of a sudden, you know.
Of course. Yeah. And people relate differently to masculine and feminine energy too. Yeah. So I think the hardest thing with I guess retreats or couples retreats is that men automatically think, oh, it's marriage counseling. Well, it's not. You know, it's about us bonding together and growing together and having your husband there with you. Yeah. I think that's also easier for males to digest. Okay, there's another man there. He's also guiding, so he can take me through.
Exactly. And, you know, sometimes in retreats, like the women need to hear something from the man and vice versa that you just can't share yourself, you know? So yeah, it's beautiful to be in that dance of the masculine, feminine energy. Yeah.
I can't wait to attend one. Yeah. I wanted to ask you about She Healed.
Yeah.
The She Healed documentary. Can you just explain what is that and how did that come about?
Yeah, so this is going to be an amazing documentary, and this is being filmed, I believe, between about now and January next year, and then I believe it will be out on Amazon Prime towards the end of 2025. And the core of this really is powerful women out there in the world that have healed themselves to certain layers and supported other women in deep layers of healing. So it's going to be very fascinating. You know, everything from the energetics and spirituality all the way through to like amazing biohacking products that are really amazing to support people and everything in between. So yeah, the cast is probably what I'm most excited about when you actually get in there and you'll see like who's in there. It's going to be amazing to watch this. Yeah.
I can't wait for this one to come out. So 2025.
Yeah.
Okay.
Towards the end, yes, I believe.
You're doing a trillion things at once. I mean, really, you've got all your businesses that you're running, not just your own, but also with your husband. Now you've got the nest coming up, you've got the documentaries, you've got your books. How do you juggle everything? Because it's a lot.
It is a lot. You know, I have an amazing team. Let me say that firstly. I have multiple amazing teams of people that I love and adore, and nothing would happen without them. You know, I am so grateful for them each and every single day. I'm literally supported by angels and geniuses in their own right, really. So I'm very, very blessed with that. And for me, you know, I'm just always asking, you know, what's in the highest alignment and where's the highest alignment for my time, energy, and resources. You know, I can't turn the entrepreneur switch off as well. So I love being in this energy of birthing and creating and starting new things. Like I'm working right now on a new conscious diamond brand where we actually, we're taking the excess carbon from the atmosphere and turning that into diamonds that actually rate and classify as diamonds, but they're not hurting the planet through the mining and the industries and all these cycles. And I'm also working on a really beautiful lingerie brand that's non-toxic, because I started seeing through my friend Anna, who's a sexologist, some of the data around all the chemicals that are being absorbed into women's bodies through fabrics that are not great for you. And so we started looking for really beautiful lingerie that's actually sexy and nice and beautiful and cool, and it's just not out there. So we're like, okay, well, let's create that. So, you know, I have a lot of these new projects bubbling, and I love it. I really don't quite know how it all happens, but it does.
Well, that's the thing. When the intention is there, I guess the opportunities come to you, and you have to feel, is this aligned with my purpose?
Absolutely.
And if it's aligned with your purpose, then it resonates and you have the time to do that.
Exactly.
I like the idea of the underwear, because you do get these non-toxic underwears, which they look like something that Grandma
Exactly.
Margaret would wear.
Exactly. No, this is like going to be actual, legit, beautiful lingerie that looks
Okay,
like it's
good.
come out of Italy somewhere.
Perfect.
That's actually amazing, but non-toxic and non-toxic dyes and actually really like nourishing and good for you.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to that as
Yes.
well. Maybe I'll wear my underwear around the nest.
Yes, you're more than welcome. We'll all be wearing it.
We'll all be wearing the fabulous underwear around the nest.
Exactly.
Now, you're speaking at our Gladiator Summit, which we are super excited that you'll be there with us. So thank you for that. How are you feeling, first of all, and how's the preparation been amongst all these trillion things that you're doing and the traveling and the moving around? How is the prep going for? Because it's literally the day after tomorrow.
You're right. It's coming up very soon. That's
Very
a great
soon.
reminder for me. It's great. I'm really happy to be here. And I'm just really excited because, when I tuned into this event, I could really feel the heart behind it and the intention and the frequency that it's really changing a lot of lives. So I feel very honored to be here and privileged. I feel very excited. And in terms of prep, yes, I prepped my slides, I think months ago and sent them off and said, okay, there's my content. And then my process really is the evening before I do a little process and I tune in at a soul level to everyone who's going to be in that space. And I try and get myself as much out of the way as possible. And I try and get their energy as much in me as possible so that I can serve them and really give them what they need so I can be useful. So that's really my prep. It's less about, memorizing what to say or this or that. It's more like really like, what does this audience need and how can I be of service to that and how can I remove myself to be a clear channel for that information? So that's really how I set that up the night before. Yeah.
Wow, that's fascinating. I love that because public speaking is, of course, one of people's greatest fears. Yeah. And when I see you on stage, you are so natural. It's literally like having a conversation with you one-to-one. You have such a beautiful stage presence. Was it always like that, or is that a skill that you feel that you've had to work on? And
I have worked on that. When I started out and I shared with you that I was coaching people one-on-one, I loved it. I would spend hours on the phone with them, but I was working 10, 12, 14 hours a day back to back. And I hit a point where I was like, I can't keep doing this. I have to find a more leveraged way. And I had an epiphany at one point I thought was my own grand idea that's quite natural for people really to transition from one-on-one coaching to talking to groups. And I was like, well, instead of speaking to 50 people for 50 hours, like why don't I spend 1 hour speaking to 50 people in a room? That seems like a great idea. So I was like, yes, I'm going to do that. So I started running events in Australia and New Zealand. There's a website called meetup.com, right?
Yeah, I know Meetup.
So I set up my own
really?
Meetup.
So you started with, that's amazing.
I started completely with Meetup. I paid the $20 host fee per month. And I said, let me create these groups. And then all of a sudden I had 20 people registered to come to this hotel room to hear my talk. And then I thought, oh God, I have to
talk.
I got to actually talk to them now. And I was terrible. I had a very strong memory of being laughed at in school when I answered a question wrong. And there was a big piece in there where some girl just laughed in my face. And I said to myself, I'm never going to speak again in public. I'm never going to raise my hand. I don't want to use my voice. If I say something, I'm going to get it wrong. And I had all this conditioning. And I remember standing in front of these 20 people. And firstly, I was an absolutely terrible speaker because I didn't know what I was doing. And secondly, I was terrified. But I just kept going. I did it again. And then I did it the next week. And then I did it 3 times a week. And then I did it 3 times a week. And then I kept going and going and going until eventually I started getting better, So this was 15 odd years ago now. And many people are like, oh, I'd love to speak, but I don't have stages to speak on. And I just say to them, like, turn on your Instagram live, like just practice, like record yourself 10 minutes to camera. It's just a skill and it's a muscle. And so, yeah, it's something that I've worked a lot at. I'm a natural introvert. It did not come easy to me. I have no formal how to be a speaker training. I just have life and persistence, really. I would watch back my own talks and critique them and look at everything that I didn't like and then redefine how I'd like to do it better next time and then practice and then do it again and practice and do it again and ask for feedback. And it's been a really big journey. Yeah.
Amazing. What were you like as a child, personality-wise? Because you just said, I'm naturally an introvert. Now, we wouldn't think that if we see the Regan on the Instagram and on the stage and online. Yeah. But as a child, what was your personality like?
I was really quiet. I was really shy. I was also terrified of using my voice. Like even as a teenager, I remember sitting 15, 16 years old in a restaurant with my parents. I'd be like, Dad, can you ask the waiter if he can bring some hot chips for me? And Dad's like, why don't you ask them? You're 16 years old. No, but just when they come by, could you ask it? Like any opportunity to not speak, I would be taking it. So yeah, I was very introverted in that way. I was the music child at school. Music was my life. I played the piano since I was 4. And when I was 13, 14, I was touring with the adult symphony orchestra. So
so that's where the harp playing comes from then.
Yes, it was my life. I was playing oboe at the time. I also, I was a jazz drummer. Like I was just full on with music. And something would happen even in front of a huge audience of hundreds of people. As long as I had an instrument in front of me, I was fine. I felt safe because I didn't have to use my voice. I didn't have to look at anyone. I was looking at music. I was reading it. I kind of tranced out and I loved it. I loved that element of the performance. So you'd think stepping on stage would be very easy for me, but it wasn't. If anything, it was harder. I was like, I need an instrument to hide behind. I need a set of notes to look at. And now I just have to speak and look at their eyes. Oh, goodness, you know? So it was very different making that transition. But yeah, that was a lot of my childhood, yeah.
How fascinating. Do you ever have that conversation with your parents? Do they ever say, what happened, you know, from this quiet child who really, like you said, had struggled sharing your voice to now you're a global speaker on stage? I mean, they must look at you and think, you know, how is this even humanly possible? I think that's really nice for people out there that maybe think, okay, I'm not an extrovert, I am an introvert. There are ways that you can still put yourself out there.
Yeah, like I tell people I'm a trained extrovert. That's it. I've just trained myself into that. And, you know, when I started speaking and I was so terrified of it and every part of me didn't want to do it. And even going to events, having to talk and meet people and mingle and go to networking things, I'm like, I just want to be at home in the bath with a book, like, right? But then I realized like, okay, like, is that me being of greatest service? You know, and so I had a choice. Like I either get over myself and serve more or I play smaller and keep being this introvert. And I just had to choose the other option and then choose it again and then keep choosing it. So yeah, I think my parents they've seen the whole journey and they've seen the unfolding. And I got a text from my mom like 2 days ago and she was like, I'm so proud of you and just everything that you are. And she's like, I still don't know where you came from, but I'm so proud of you.
That's
very
really
sweet.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's very sweet.
Yeah.
It's nice to be able to have those conversations and reflect back for sure. How fascinating.
Yeah.
What do you feel is next for you? I know you have a lot of projects right now that you said are bubbling away, but looking at going forward, what do you think is next for Regan? Or what vision do you have where you want to be? Not the projects that you're working on now, but what would be the ultimate vision for you?
Totally. Well, you know, I feel right now I'm in this really deep place of expansion. And I think as humans, we go through waves of this. We go through expansion and acceleration, and we also go through plateaus. And I feel like I'm just in this place of expansion right now. And it's less about, I want to do this and I want to do that, but it's more about this feeling that I have inside my heart. And the only way I can describe it is it feels like more than ever right now, I'm super connected to my highest self and that version of me out in the future that's already created a life of impact and service that's so much greater than what I could even imagine right now. So I'm in this interesting place of not even putting a construct from the mind of a box of like, well, you know, I'd like it to be like this, or my service to now be at this level and my money and impact to be here. Instead, I'm just like, okay, I don't know. But let me really feel that feeling and import that frequency of serving in such a big way that I can't even fathom how big it is. And that's what I've been sitting in. I've literally been sitting in this over the last week, just feeling that feeling and allowing that to run through my system and surrendering to that, which is a big surrender because it's
a big surrender.
It's weird to surrender to something that you don't know what it's going to look like.
Right. Yeah.
But I know what it's going to feel like, and I'm willing to participate in the magic of them being shown how that shows up in my life. So I'm in that right now.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
And I think you don't have the fear, right? So that's, I think, one of people's biggest barriers to surrendering and to letting go is that's the unknown and I need to control because control is my safety zone. When I'm in control, I'm not vulnerable. But actually, it's kind of the opposite because then you keep yourself stuck.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so many people are in that. And if you're able to tag the fear and tag the control and tag the contraction, you realize like your system can be in contraction or it can be in expansion, but it can't be in both at the same time. And if you're in control and fear and contraction, you can't be in expansion and receiving in abundance. It's impossible. So I always check in, like, where am I at? Am I contracted? Is my body contracted? Am I worried? Is my mind spinning? Okay, if it is, cool, just tag it. Open it all back up again, right? Yeah. Okay, let me come into a place of expansion. Even though I don't even know what that looks like. Regan, what do you want 20 years from now? I don't know, but I know the feeling of it and I'm willing to say yes to it and navigate this level of surrender that's so big and powerful. And I know the feeling that it's going to be so good that it's beyond what my mind could even put a box on. Okay, I choose that and sit in that vibe. Yeah.
I love that. And be open to everything. All of it. Fascinating. Oh, exciting times ahead.
Yes.
It's been amazing talking to you. I can't wait to see you on the stage on Saturday. I really can't wait to see, I can't wait to see you shine, but I also can't wait to see what people receive from your message and from your energy. And because that is what Gladiator Summit is really all about. It's about giving, serving, not selling. Just people will take what they need to take, and they are there for reasons that we don't know why they're there, but they're there for reasons that are bringing them there. So, and I know that your message is pure, and I know that it's from the heart, and I can't wait for you to share that. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I'm
It's
so
been
excited.
A beautiful conversation. Thank
Amazing.
you for having me.
Thank you, Regan. Beautiful. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. This will be aired after the summit, unfortunately, but we will see Regan on Saturday. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you so much.